Hi, I'm Debbie Wirtz. I am the Program Director of Novi Community Coalition. Today we're going to talk about the effects of technology, social media, and the effects it has on your children. Over the past decade, society has witnessed massive changes in the way media and technology intersect with the way we work and live. Devices are more mobile, functional, and seemingly indispensable. We have integrated media and technology into more and more of our lives, bringing devices with us everywhere and depending on them for a wide range from work, school, play, and social functions. Especially since COVID, technology has become how we work and how we have social interactions. With screen time on the rise, average for teenagers is about 7 hours and 22 minutes a day. The internet and technology seem to be consuming and controlling almost every part of young people's lives. It affects the reward pathway, contributes to anxiety, and leads to avenues for cyberbullying and stress. And although it allows peers to connect and form relationships with others, it is important that parents and teenagers keep a watch on their usage and how it is affecting their mental health. So we could talk for hours about technology and social media, not only the effects, but even learning the different apps to be aware of. But today I'm going to sketch out the basic media landscape and offer tips and tools along the way. But remember, there's no magic button. Technology and media moves too fast for simple solutions. So though we will give practical tips, the overall information and framework is what is important here. We are all trying to navigate this new world of devices and technology, and it's not always easy. Kids are using a lot of media, and parents can feel a combination of guilt and anxiety and how to navigate it all. There are ways technology and media can offer a positive benefit and amazing opportunities for our kids, but how much is too much? What about the negative effects and the negative outcomes? What is right? What is wrong? Well, the good news is if you're worried about doing it right, you're probably not doing it wrong. Being an involved parent and watching this video means you are involved and a concerned parent. So first, let's look at our kids' generation traits. The most apparent characteristic of this generation is its comfort with technology, often referred to as digital natives or people born into technology. And they are also risk takers and thrill seekers, and they prefer to multitask rather than focus on one thing at a time. And they can be more attracted to the ideas from their peer or a web video than what their parents or teachers have to offer. So have you ever said, "What were they thinking?" Well, they probably weren't. Teen's brain is evolving and does not mature until about the age of 24. The brain develops from the back to the front. You can see here the front of the brain, or the front lobe, is called the prefrontal cortex, and that regulates executive functions like planning, setting priorities, organizing thoughts, suppressing impulses, and weighing consequences over one's actions. The prefrontal cortex helps us to think ahead, see consequences, and make decisions. So with social media, that might look like posting an inappropriate picture that they might regret later, or a picture that could hurt someone else. When it comes to gaming, that might look like playing all night instead of doing your homework and getting enough sleep. They also tend to see situations as final and forever, like in black and white. As teens, they're developing the ability to see others' perspectives, which is an important skill. However, with the increased focus on peer approval, it also means being preoccupied with what others think about them. Social media can play into insecurities around other people's opinions. Bottom line about the brain development is teens are set up to take risks, make quick decisions without thinking them through, seeking peer approval, or being preoccupied with what other people's opinions of them are, and seeing things as black and white, total truths, and no end in sight. And they have a hard time seeing their future self. With the brain, there is a specific pathway known as the reward pathway, which is responsible for providing a feeling of motivation, reward, and pleasure. One specific region of the reward pathway is the nucleus accumbens. It's especially important in these feelings of pleasure. The nucleus accumbens lights up when the reward pathway is activated. And in fact, it has been proven that when teens see social media, this pathway is lit up in teenagers. During adolescent development, this reward pathway tends to develop much earlier than the rational regions of the brain responsible for making rational and informed decisions. This often leads to the reward pathway having a huge role in the decision-making process of teenagers, leaving them tempted and motivated by pleasure instead of rational thoughts. Social media activates this reward pathway quickly, causing a rush of dopamine and pleasure in teenagers. Teenagers get a rush of excitement when someone likes their posts on social media sites, but then also gets a sense of disappointment and punishment when an individual ignores or does not like one of their posts. Research is currently being done, and so far what we do know shows that social media use does have negative health consequences. It has been reported that girls who check more than 3 times a day are more likely to have poor mental health, and those girls are less happy and more anxious in subsequent years. It's also reported that among teens who spent more than 3 hours a day on social media are even more likely to have higher risk for mental health issues, particularly in internalizing problems such as anxiety and depression. So challenges for technology, especially social media, is broken down into 4 categories: comparison, pressure, drama, and isolation. The first category is comparing yourself to other people's very carefully posed and filtered self. Since teen brains are already prone to feeling vulnerable and what others think about them, the way we use social media can impact how we feel about ourselves. It happens to all of us at some time, low self-esteem. It's not like when we were little and we didn't care what anyone thought, what we wore, or what we did. The more we are exposed to unrealistic life, the more we lose our self-esteem. Some of the elements of social media that are trickiest have to do with appearances. It's easy to alter images with apps like Facetune or filters or Photoshop. If teens compare themselves to pictures they see, they're likely trying to meet a false standard that no one can achieve. And teens can now compare themselves both to peers and celebrities, which sets them for a different level of false standards. As many of us know from using Facebook, the majority of pictures we see are all smiling faces, pretty places, and fun times. Well, no one's life is perfect, but it's hard to know that by looking at some people's feeds. Social media, YouTube, and even video games now serve up a lot of content on images around beauty, ideals, tutorials, and products. It all seems to boil down to what you look like is most important, which is a really hard message for an insecure teen. Online feedback is often swift and harsh, whether you're on social media or a game with a chat. If you get likes, that may reinforce posting more of the same. But if you get negative comments, it can be crushing, especially the judgmental ones about your appearance. There are a lot of feelings that come from these beliefs. You may feel like everyone else is perfect and having the best time all the time. They may feel like they're just not attracted enough. Social media can reinforce body image issues that already exist. One study found that women perform worse on a math test while wearing a bathing suit than while wearing a sweater, which indicates that the way we see ourselves can impact our performance and our confidence. If teens work hard to look perfect online, they may start to believe that no one will really like their imperfect self. Getting likes and online approval can become very important as a measure of self-worth. Getting likes actually releases dopamine hormone in our brain and makes us happy. But the problem is it tricks our brain that we can only be happy if we get those likes, and we become dependent on getting those likes versus when we don't get the likes, it puts us in a cortisol state, which brings us anxiety, depression, and stress. So what do? First, it's critical that the feelings your teen has around comparing themselves to others is real, and they can't be just swept away with a simple, "Oh, but you're pretty," or "Don't worry about what other people think." Starting with empathy and validation can be powerful so your kids feel seen and heard. You could say something like, "I know, it's really hard when it seems like everyone looks good and has it together." And it is also true that these pictures are just one piece of the puzzle, and comparing our whole selves to one piece just doesn't add up. You could talk about the duck syndrome. Stanford research coined the phrase when describing how when a duck is swimming, it looks effortless from above the surface, but underneath the duck's feet are frantically paddling. It's helpful to remind teens that someone's life may look effortless and beautiful, but everyone has struggles and insecurities. Look for YouTube and social media influencers who keep it real and make imperfection a priority. So when your kid sees this, have the conversations about this. If friends are the ones showing perfection, your kid likely knows it's an illusion and maybe even what methods they use to try and achieve this illusion. Talk to them about the pros and cons of this approach. How much energy does it take to maintain that illusion? Do the benefits go beyond likes? You can also model how to struggle and make mistakes and show your kid that you are imperfect too, and this will help your kid deal with it. If they see you trying to be perfect, they might take that pressure on themselves as well. Instead of only looking at positive outcomes, it's important to praise effort, even if they don't succeed. Working towards something and learning from that experience, even when it ends in failure, is how kids build resilience. Instill in your kids to be kind because everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. So pressure. It's tricky for adults to be being reachable 24/7. Well, it's even more challenging for teens. And many of the apps and games we use are actually designed to keep us using them, checking in and playing them. Just like back in the day when the phone would ring and we'd run to pick it up, teens today feel like they need to respond right away because letting too much time goes by sends its own message of, I'm mad or I don't care. In fact, 72% of teens in the U.S. feel the need to respond immediately to online communication. In the midst of all this information being flung around, it's easy to feel that if you don't keep up, you're going to miss out. So if there's like a group chat and you're not responding, you may miss a new inside joke or some important gossip that everyone will be referencing. No matter what your kid is into, scrolling, posting, playing, or watching, there is some science behind it trying to keep them tied to their screen. When someone likes one of your posts, do you feel obligated to like theirs? Well, for teens, social media can be an extension of friendship, so liking something online actually does mean something. But all this leads up to extra pressure, and they don't want to miss out, and they want to keep up with what everyone is doing. Trying to keep up with the digital social life and get schoolwork done can often lead to multitasking. Often we talk about multitasking as an important skill and something to value, but research is now showing trying to do more than one thing at a time decreases performance on those tasks. It's important for teens to know that even if they feel like they can chat, text, scroll, swipe, and do homework at the same time, usually something will suffer, and that probably will be their homework. It gets even trickier when kids have to use screens for school. It can make it easy to hide multitasking if they're opening multiple tabs to check social media, or using a platform for chatting, or playing games in between their homework. And if grades drop because of their divided attention, that can lead to frustration, even anxiety and depression if the problem worsens or persists. So how do we help our kids feel less pressured? Again, it's important not to dismiss or minimize their feelings or responsibility, as their feelings are real and legitimate, even if we don't totally understand it. Though this might be tricky for some teens, encourage them to turn off notifications or at least downgrade to a less intrusive version. Or maybe they can pick up an app to get notifications for, or let friends know that it's really important they should text them because they will not be checking every notification they get. Keeping devices away from the dinner table and out of the bedroom can also help your kids contain the urge to keep checking. Though kids may need a computer for homework, they probably don't need their phone at the same time. Have their teen get into a habit of either putting their phone in another room while doing their schoolwork or using an app designed to keep them focused. If your kid wants to listen to music at bedtime, you may be able to use the device controls to make sure that's all they do. If not, an old-fashioned alarm clock and a charging station in another room might help your teen to get to sleep on time. It also helps if they can put the blame on you. Tell them to tell their friends, "Sorry, I didn't answer that right away, but my mom won't let me have my phone after 9 p.m. And also, the way you use your device is really important. If you struggle with using too much social media, be upfront about it. Challenge each other to resist and set limits. If you're using your phone for a tool, like for work or shopping lists, make sure you tell them what you're doing so they don't think you're just scrolling or on social media. Drama. So if you have a tween or a teen, you're pretty familiar with drama. But being behind a keyboard can sometimes mean especially bad behavior because it seems safer. When we are not face-to-face with someone, we can say and do things we might not otherwise say or do. And because teens play out some of their social lives online, there's bound to be some drama. There are subtle and not so subtle ways for teen drama to play out online. There have always been friendship flips, mean girls, and bullies, but being online can take it to a whole new level. Of course, we know kids can be mean at some times, but what's different is that the online world amplifies or accelerates mean comments, rumors, and embarrassing info and pictures. And while some online drama stems from a misunderstanding of some kind, there's also deliberate cyberbullying, which is targeted, prolonged online attacks meant to cause harm. The drama can also involve romantic relationships. So if someone starts asking for sexy pictures, it might feel like you need to comply or you'll lose the interest of that person. Well, usually once you send one, there are usually more requests for more, and all too often these pictures are shared with other people. So there's a story about a boy that went to school prior to technology. He was still very concerned about his social status, but he went to school, and during lunchtime, he spilled spaghetti on his shirt. The kids around him that saw it started laughing. He ran out, he went to the gym, and he changed his shirt. Then he headed back to classroom. And the event was over. The whole rest of the night, there was no more thought about it because there was no more talk about it. Well, nowadays, with our phones and social media, the same scenario. The boy spills spaghetti sauce on his shirt, people laugh, he goes out, changes his shirt, thinks everything's good, goes to the next class. But when he goes into class, everyone's laughing at him. They're all looking at his phone, and they're laughing at him. The whole rest of the night, he keeps looking because someone got a video of it, and they posted it on social media. So people are now making rude comments, laughing at him, and he spends his whole evening consumed looking at these comments and affecting his mental status. When teens are dealing with drama, here's some ways you can help. One of the most effective ways to help teens with online drama is just to listen. If your kid is coming to you, seeing understanding, listening, and validating their feelings, that can make them feel not so alone. And it'll show them that you care and that you're willing to help. To help your kid avoid starting the drama, help them think through posts when they have a chance. Like use the grandma rule. Would your grandma approve of that post? If you see them taking a picture of a friend, suggest that they ask that friend first before they post that picture. If they're trying to work out conflict, encourage them to call, or even better, wait until they can talk to that person face to face, which will help them to avoid any misunderstandings. If cyberbullying is happening to your kid, take screenshots, block the bully, and report them on that site or app. If the bullying persists and your kid is in distress, ask your child if they want you to intervene. Now, if there's physical threat of some kind, it's time to get the school and/or police involved. Preventing drama by being positive online and sticking up for those who are a target of rumors or bullying also can empower kids to help them band together instead of drawing out the drama. Depending on your kid, social media and games could either start out as a sanctuary or end up that way. For some kids, social interaction feels easier online in the context of a game or a forum. For others, online relationships and social media can become a way to avoid problems and emotion, which ends up isolating them. When kids isolate themselves, it's always a sign of something, though it could mean a variety of different things. Because the online world is limitless and caters to every interest, kids who have trouble relating to people in real life can find their people online. That sense of belonging is what teens want most. So if it stays uncomplicated and fun, it may become more compelling than that in-person relationship. Though they're still interacting, it's still a kind of isolation, which is excluding eye-to-eye contact. Because of some of the other factors we've discussed, like pressure and drama, kids may start to let the digital world take over. They may lose interest in other activities to maintain their online life, and everything else may seem like an outside distraction. For kids who are dealing with trauma, conflict, or other problems, being online can feel like a sanctuary and a way to avoid their problems. Sometimes this leads them open to relationships with strangers, which often isolates them even further. If a child is already feeling isolated or is avoiding something by being online, it probably means they're already struggling, so a sensitive approach is usually best. It might seem best to take away the device if a child's use feels out of control and they've given up on things that they usually love, but they're using that digital media as an escape and a lifeline, and it could make things worse. Before taking drastic measures around devices, try to identify the underlying cause of the isolation. Is this a familiar pattern with your child because social interaction has always been hard? Has there been a major life stressor? Do you know why your kid is isolating themselves? Are they using a game or social media as a temporary escape from a difficult circumstance? Within limits, this can actually be helpful if it's contained and only temporary. If they won't talk to you about what's going on, it's probably time to get outside help. Short of banning devices, setting some limits around when and where your child can use them will help them contain on how much time they're spending online. Eating dinner together as a family as much as possible is proven to decrease risks of negative outcomes, such as substance abuse, so please have device-free dinners. Teens are notorious for not getting enough sleep, which can significantly impact their mental health, so keeping devices out of the bedroom helps set limits naturally. Cutting off all contact in anger and fear might trigger extreme behavior, so stay calm, empathetic, and reasonable with help tapping into those underlying feelings instead of making the online relationship something to defend. Approach media balance as a family instead of targeting one kid. Even if that kid is the only one struggling, address it all together as a family. is all about the balance. So ask yourself, is my child physically and mentally healthy? Are they getting enough sleep, getting enough exercise? Are they engaging and doing well in school? Are they connecting with family and friends? Are they pursuing interests and hobbies? Crime is another important issue with social media and technology. Online crime is the fastest growing crime in the U.S. Nearly 60% of teens have received an email or instant message from a stranger, and more than half have replied. Nearly 62% of teens report their parents have no idea at all what they're doing online. Pretty scary thought. And 71% of parents stop supervising their kids' internet use after the age of 14, and that's when they actually need it the most. Social media has now become a way for teens to purchase substances. There was a 16-year-old recently who bought drugs off of Snapchat. They were delivered to his house. Parents didn't even know what was going on. They thought he was safe at home. When he took the pills, didn't know they were actually laced with fentanyl, and the 16-year-old boy died. So for more resources, go to www.commonsensemedia.org/social media. Focus on your relationship with your kids separate from the digital devices. Encourage self-esteem and self-love. Use phones, computers in common areas of the house. Learn more about the computers and the internet and the different apps that are out there. Set boundaries and expectations and discuss these with your kids. Make a contract. Spend time with your kids online as well as offline. Set reasonable time and usage limits. Possibly no phones in bedroom at night, or they can't take them to bed. Know what apps your kids have and check their phone. Let them know that you're doing it and always communicate what's going on. Know who they're talking to. Watch out for secret apps such as the calculator app, which is really a secret texting app. Discuss the dangers of internet with your child. Keep youngsters out of online chat rooms and do your best to reinforce the old rule. Never talk to strangers. Make sure they do not give out personal information and no face-to-face meetings with any stranger at all. And be a good role model yourself. So thank you for tuning in today. If you would like more information or have questions, please contact me at the Novi Community Coalition. Our contact information is up here on the slide. Again, thank you for tuning in, and I hope you found some helpful information during this presentation. Have a great day.